Why do sensory issues come and go? Example, my 5-year-old just started having sensory issues with socks. She's never had that before. Okay, so there's different things that happen when sensory issues come and go. A lot of times they come during big neurological developmental seasons. And and 5 is one of those seasons. So kindergarten ish ages is a time where a lot is going on in the brain. And so a lot of times we will see like new stress behaviors begin, or old stress behaviors that maybe were not as active become more frequent or more intense. And we see that around 5, we see it again around 9, and then we see it again right around puberty. And then it just kind of stays for a while, which stinks. But so a lot of times it's just that the brain is undergoing big neurological changes, and so that just makes the brain just in general just more sensitive and more stressed. Another time we see it is another thing about these ages that correspond with the brain changes. So the brain's going through a lot, and then we also start expecting a lot more from kids that are those ages. Think about the difference between an expectation from a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old. Huge, huge, huge difference. So it's very common for our kiddos who are around 5-ish to start to really take a deep dive into their own stress system, like to just stay there for a bit, because all of a sudden teachers are expecting them to remember to put their folder in their backpack, and remember to pull out their water bottle, and remember that they always need a pencil on their table. And all of these things, like added together for a kid who has a hard time organizing and executing and that sort of thing, is really hard. And also around those ages, grown-ups, not usually parents, but sometimes parents too, grown-ups start pulling away some of the nurture that our kids had before. And sometimes parents will do this as well, just because it's harder to just carry a 5-year-old around. Depending on their size, it's just not as easy to nurture them the same way that you did when they were 3. But they sense the loss of that nurture, and then the expectations go up, like you should be able to put your shoes and socks on by yourself now, because we know they can physically, but they're not always emotionally regulated enough to do it. But the expectation is there, right? So those are ages where expectations increase so much for kids. The next time after kindergarten age is 3rd grade-ish. Crazy expectation increase. So when you pair that with the neurological changes, and you are just experiencing a child with just more stress. Okay, so that's one reason that we might be seeing this. Another reason we might be seeing this, and I'm not sure what your kiddo's alarm state is specifically, but when kiddos have particularly a flight alarm state, I find that sensory issues do come and go. And they come when the child is stressed, and that can be the child just being in a hurry. So it could be that, because usually when we tell our kids to put shoes and socks on, we're headed out the door. Transition, sometimes we're rushing them. So it literally could just be the stress of being in a hurry, or the stress of the transition. And what happens is with these kids is you see that they can be very, very regulated, very calm. They can be doing a puzzle and just as calm as can be, until they get distressed, and then they're dropping 10 pieces of puzzle on the floor, and they can't, and their little brother's sippy cup noises are bugging them to death, and they scream at you to stop making noise, and they hit somebody who runs into them. Like, it kind of turns on and off. And those are sensory issues that are triggered from your stress system being triggered, if that makes sense. And we all have that. We all have some of that.